this before. Started recording and forgot, started talking and forgot to hit the record. Okay, we're there. All right. Camera's still on me. All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining as always. Today, I'm quite excited. We've got Kerry Noble Jr. here today, who's going to talk to us about credit hacks. I have a lot of young people who follow and who look up to me, and I try to be a good role model. But when it comes to finances, I'm a little bit all over the place. I follow some of the rules, I break other rules. I'm very stubborn about some things. And credit is one of those things that I've fallen very short on. I got a credit card when I was 18, like most people. I did well with it. I always paid it off on time. I only used it when I had the money to buy it. I just used it to buy things online or plane tickets, but I never used it with money I didn't have. So my credit was very good, but when I was 22, I decided, screw it. I'm gonna not pay my credit card off. Very dumb decision. I wouldn't recommend it because I haven't had a credit card since. So that was 12 years ago, and I've lived without credit this whole time, and some things have been quite difficult, honestly. So I am hoping to rectify that, been trying, but for you guys, especially the young people out there, I'm hoping that this might help you not make the same mistakes I did and mistakes that some of my friends made. I have several friends who they just couldn't keep up with their credit card. They were buying things they didn't have the money for, and it took them years, or they never got out of that trap. So they still have bad credit to this day. It's something that plagues them and haunts them. And especially in today's world, unless you're going to buy a very cheap house like mine that costs less than 50,000 Canadian dollars, you're going to need credit. Kerry Noble here. He's a dedicated father of three from Indianapolis, Indiana. He's passionate about cars, reading books, and staying active through working out. Kerry values family time and cherishes moments spent with loved ones, which I think is the point here. We got to be, financially stable to enjoy the good things in life. He's a human resources professional, but real estate is his business. And Kerry, happy to have you. Tell us all about credit hacks. And where do
Yeah,
where do
yeah.
you, where do you start with this? What's your credit
Oh,
history?
yeah. So thank you for being here. Man, I'm just like you, same story. I didn't get a credit card till I was 18. So I went to college, and one thing that they don't tell you is that when you go to college and you turn 18, because my birthday is at the end of the year, so my birthday is May, at the end of the school year. My birthday was May. Um, so I didn't really get credit offers until I got to college. Once I got to college, those credit offers started showing up in my dorm mailbox. So I don't know if they still do that, but they were targeting for me. You know what I mean? So um, I didn't have a credit card until I was 18. I don't come from a family of credit. Even now, it's been my duty to fix my parents' credit. You know what I mean? A lot of black people like demonize credit. Like it's strange, but they demonize credit. They hated it. I didn't know a black person with good credit until hell, maybe I was like 30s, something like that. And I mean over 800. Well, anyway, 18, I got my first credit card. It was through my college's credit union. And I did exactly what you said. I used it for gas and stuff, and I would pay it right off. I stopped paying it at one point because it became too much for me because I was in college and I didn't have income, right? So I didn't have any income, and I just stopped paying it. Then I ended up paying it off after I missed a couple payments, just paid it all the way off. Um, but the damage was already done. So what is that? That was probably 1920. I didn't get another credit card till I was at least uh maybe 28, 29, something like that. So um went to college without credit, or basically most of college with no credit cards and anything like that. Once I graduated, that's when the realization of credit came into place. So I graduated in 2008 during the Great Recession time. And I went without a job, everything like that. Didn't have any credit cards, nothing. Student loans started piling up. They want you to pay those back and everything like that. And boom, my credit tanked. My credit tanked. My credit was probably in the 400s, 4 or 500s by then. The lowest I can recall was probably about a 520, 520. Um, the student loan trap, that's a whole other issue, but I stopped paying my student loans and they went into collections. So my student loans went into collections, and then the predatory credit card lenders, the credit card companies such as Credit One and Capital One, they start sending you those offers. So I got my you would get those and everything, but I didn't still didn't understand credit. Probably 2000, so 7 years ago. We're at 17, 27. My oldest credit card right now is only 7 years old. It'll be 7 years old in August. So 7 years ago, I went to apply for a secure card. I'm reading up on it. Most people start with a secure card to establish their credit, get you your own money, take it to a bank. Um, they'll take it, give you a credit card. Boom, you got a secure card. The first bank I tried that with was PNC. PNC, you had to actually apply for a secured credit card with them. I got denied the first time. Um, and from there, I said, oh man, let me come back and find another way. So I don't know what I did. I think I paid something off or something like that. It was a medical bill or something like that. And then I came back and applied again, got it the second time. Now you would think that um, you can just it's your money. What are you checking my credit for? Right? But no, it didn't work like that with PNC. Um, you had to apply. They didn't take your money unless were granted approval. So the second time was the charm for me with PNC. Knowing what I know now, here's a tip. Here's the first tip for you. If you ever get a secured card, um, make sure it graduates. Okay,
What does that mean?
that's exactly. Um, that means that once after a certain period of time, it'll go to unsecured and they'll give you your money back. First, that's the first tip. Find a secure card that graduates. I still now
So
at
it can
7 years later,
become a real credit card, basically.
it can become a real credit card.
Okay.
Those are credit card companies like Discover It. That's a great one. I had one of those. Later on, you put your money up. They'll give you a credit card. Then after 6, 7 months of great payments, they'll give you your money back. Then the card becomes unsecured. So it's called graduating. I still have that credit card from PNC because it never graduates. But I pay $3 a month every month for having it. It's like a little annual fee that they split over 12 months. So uh uh Discover, Navy Federal, Citibank, they all have cards that graduate. So that's the first tip. When you're starting your journey or starting to build, find you a credit card that graduates. Don't get a card that does not graduate because now that's my oldest card. And your credit age, it all is an average. It's just an average. So if I decide to close that account, my average will drop because that's my oldest card. So keep that in mind. First tip: find you a credit card that graduates to unsecured. So I got that card, got that PNC card, and I still was very uh, ignorant to what credit was, but I was starting a journey. So I was doing everything I needed to do, pay my credit card on time. They tell you to keep it under 30%, blah, blah, blah. Another tip, you can max the card out as long as you pay it off before your due date, right? You can max the card off. Just pay it off. You know what I mean? A lot of people like to keep a balance. My utilization is under 5% across all my cards. So um, you can use the whole limit of the card if you want. Just pay it off before your due date. So
Does it
that's
matter how much you use it? Like you said, utilization under 5%. That means you only use 5% of the credit available to you.
that's all their reports. So due date, statement date, right? Due date, statement date. So let's say my due date is the 15th. The statement date is a couple days later. That's when they'll generate a new statement for you. That's also the information that goes over to the credit bureau. Okay. So let's say it's $1,000 on there. If I use all $1,000 and I pay off 500 by the due date, that's going to report that, okay, cool, I made the payment on time. But then I can pay more before the statement date, and this is the amount that goes over to the credit bureau. So if I pay 500 of the 1,000, or I pay of the $1,000 balance, then I come back and pay 400. That'll leave me a $100 of. It'll leave me a 10% utilization, right? This is what will report to the credit bureau, the amount that's left by the statement date. So I mean by the statement date. I'm sorry. So that's what we'll report. Boom. So you manufactured that, although you did pay by the due date, giving you that good check mark for the month that you paid on time. Then this is how you manufacture how much reports on your utilization. So if you pay more, so you make that first payment, and then if you got some more, you can pay it all by the due date. It's up to you. But the statement date is the key date. That's the amount that reports to the credit bureau.
Okay.
And that's generally within a week after the due date. Okay. Some of them are different. Some may be 2 days after, 3 days after. Some may be exactly a week. American Express seems to be about a week. City is like 3 days after the due date. Some of them you just gotta know. It'll tell you your statement date is from this to this. So they'll tell you. But it's all about that little window after your due date before your statement date, what is left of your balance. So that's the key.
All right.
Okay. Okay. Knowing that, that's how you manufacture everything, but you can use the whole balance if you want to. There are times where I've used the whole balance and then I just paid it off before the statement date. So um but back to that, just my first card. I still have it. Um I started learning more. I'm sorry, Capital One, they sent me Capital One is not, I ain't gonna say it's predatory, but what is it? It is the Credit One is predatory. Credit One is a predatory credit card company, and they go after the subprime credit market, right? So they go after those people with not so desirable scores, and they prey on those people that know that credit, they don't know their credit stuff. So you'll get all these crazy fees. They make their money on crazy fees. Like they have an annual fee, a monthly fee. They make you pay for adding authorized users. It's crazy that Credit One has, but Capital One, and then that's another thing. They play on the name of Credit One and Capital One. Capital One is a big bank. Credit One is subprime, and Capital One kind of is too, because they go after kind of the same people. But Capital One is a real, it's more solidified than Credit One as far as an institution, a credible lender, and everything like that. So if you do, you would go with the Capital One before you go to the Credit One, but they play off of that Credit One, Capital One name.
Mm-hmm.
So that confuses a lot of people. But second card was a Capital One card, and it started out as I thought I had one. Um, it started out as a platinum card, which is that blue card right there. Your basic card, just a basic card, entry card, no cash back, no rewards, none of that. Um, got one of those, worked it for a little bit. And then Capital One sent me another pre-approval for a Quicksilver. Quicksilver is just a step up. And with that Quicksilver, it comes with cash back. So you get 1.5% cash back. And just to break that down for a lot of people, is the cash back is if you spend $100, you'll get 1.5% back. So $1.50 for every $100 that you spend, you'll get that in cash back. Right. So that's just entry level, cash back. You're upgrading from no rewards to getting the basic rewards. And after a while, that actually will pay off. Um, you could put all your bills on your cards, and stuff you normally pay in cash, you'll then put it on your card, and then you'll get cash back for that. So let's say you do spend $1,000 every month on just in bills. So $1,000 every month at 1.5%, that's $10.50, right?
Mm-hmm.
10.50. At the end of the year, you'll 10.50 times 12, you'll end up with over $120 just in cash back. That may be an extra set of groceries, maybe some gas, it may be something else that you could pay it, you could use it to pay on your statement date.
It's not nothing. It's a couple of nice dinners, one very nice dinner. It's a couple of vinyl records, you know. It's little
Exactly, exactly. And you're getting that for stuff you would normally use your card for, your debit card for. So now you're getting the rewards for doing stuff that you would normally do with your debit card. You're doing it with your credit card, and you're getting rewards for that.
Another reason I've seen people talk about why they prefer using a credit card for basically everything, their groceries and gas and all this stuff, over debit or over cash even, is because it's protected. You know,
Absolutely.
we've all seen that there's a bunch of scammers out there who put a fake machine over the gas machine or over the debit machine, so it's collecting your card information. Well, if those people use your information and spend it somewhere, you're not protected at all. Whereas if it is a credit card, you can call them, "Hey, I didn't make this purchase," and you're not going to have to end up paying for that in the vast majority of cases.
Yep. So exactly. So I haven't used a debit card and only to make a deposit into my checking account or something like that. That's when I use it. But as far as charges, I do not use debit cards anymore. Again, they'll take care of their money immediately. So you call American Express, hey, I didn't make this charge. Boom. They'll cancel your card, send you out a new card immediately. Whereas a debit card is going to take 2 weeks. They're going to have to investigate 2 weeks to get your money back. You know what I mean? I seen some people, they went to some car show. I'm in the car, so I pay attention to the car show world and everything like that. There was a big car show this past weekend, and a lot of people said they spent 250 and they didn't get in. I said, well, guess what? The first thing I would do is I'm filing a dispute with my credit card company on that, and I'm gonna get the money back, right? I've had to file one dispute so far. It was with a rental car company, and the rental car company was, the rental car game has changed so much these days, and they're killing it with all the fees. They didn't want to give me my deposit back, so it was on my American Express, and then you had to write a little letter explaining to American Express what happened, blah blah blah. You send it to them, um, and then they'll be in contact with the person on the other end, the seller or the rental car company, and my money was returned within uh my money was returned within 2 days. So it definitely protects yourself. And again, they're going to go faster for their money than your money. So definitely, I agree with that.
That rental car thing is pretty slimy. I'm not happy with rental car companies at all right now. Recently, I hadn't had to rent a car in a very long time, but did recently, and just like you said, showing up, we're ending up paying way more than expected, way more than advertised. And if I had other options, honestly, I would have said screw you guys. But so you were in a situation where you paid the deposit, showed up, and you're like, well, this is going to be 4 times more than I expected because all these hidden fees. You said, no, I want my deposit back, but they didn't want to give it to you.
Yep, yep, absolutely. That listen to me. I've learned that just not even just in rental cars, but with a lot of things, you're offered so many certain credit cards offer cell phone protection. If you buy your cell phone or you pay your monthly bill with your credit card, with certain credit cards, they offer cell phone protection. Um, T-Mobile, T-Mobile. So I was with Sprint, and then T-Mobile acquired Sprint. And probably about a year ago, a little under a year ago, they were wanting to. I had a discount with T-Mobile. It was like a $5 discount per line they gave me from enrolling in auto pay. So this was years ago, probably 10 years ago with Sprint. And I had my credit card in there. It was enrolled. Well, T-Mobile took away the auto pay feature or the discount for having auto pay. So the $5 each line, they took that away for people that did not have their debit card or a checking account enrolled. So mine has been my credit card, right? So T-Mobile was offering that incentive to continue if you had your debit card or your checking account in that place. I wasn't putting my debit card or checking account in that place. There needs to be a credit card there. That is a buffer of protection for me in any situation that T-Mobile may mess up or fumble anything. I am protected with my credit card, right? That's an extra layer of protection there. Um, uh, the insurance on the cell phone, everything like that. I'm never taking that away from there. So they took away not only mine, but a lot of customers that did not want to comply by adding your debit card and credit card, your debit card and checking account in that place. So, of course, that's a quicker way to get their money deposited on their end. So they debit your debit card or your checking account. They'll have their money in a couple of days, the next day, where versus your credit card, it may take a couple of days. But there's that protection that I have, and I will never remove that. And I think that was very shady on T-Mobile's part. So, yes, that extra layer of protection is a must. And that's given to you with your credit card and not with your debit card
Or cash, for that matter.
or cash or cash. Correct, correct. Um, so that is another tip. Check with your credit cards. Your credit cards may have some type of insurance for you, and they can be beneficial to you depending on what credit card it is. So different credit cards offer different things. So that's a good tip. There's another tip for you. So um, right before the pandemic, my credit was about 540. Okay. Now my credit was at 540, not because of me missing any payments. My credit was at 540 because of the student loan thing. Right. I stopped paying my student loans. They went into uh, collections, everything like that. Again, don't want to go into the student loan thing. I'm a student loan kid, blah blah blah. But Biden paused student loans, right? So Biden paused student loans, and my credit shot up. My credit shot up once he paused it. Like, man, what's going on? My credit went from like 540 to uh I don't know. It was in the sixes. It was in the high sixes. My credit shot up. They weren't reporting. Um, None of that stuff that pertained to student loans was reported. So other than that, my credit was pretty good. I never missed a payment on a credit card. I kept low utilization, everything like that. But I saw that as an opportunity. So I put my cards in rehabilitation, and I'm sorry, I put my student loans in rehabilitation. They was offering all these rehabilitation things, blah blah blah. Put those in rehabilitation. Boom. I'm like, okay, wow, what's going on here? So that happened to me before from uh, a year or two before. My student loans disappeared from my credit. And then I got another credit card. I got two credit cards at that time. So I'm like, okay, well, these opportunities come, you need to pay attention to them. So once that happened with the pandemic, and let me say this too, during the pandemic, when we were on lockdown, all I did was listen to podcasts, read books, read books, and YouTube videos. So I was just in here studying, just in here studying my craft. If you can look over my shoulder, you see there's one of my bookcases. So I keep a lot of books around me. So that's literally all I started doing was reading, listening to books, reading, and podcasts. So I was freshening up on credit. Actually, I was working on my business credit on the real estate side, learning how to get credit, no PG, no personal guarantee, right?
What does
So
that
you
mean?
see, yeah, that's what I'm about to go into. So what you see all these gurus on social media, TikTok, and everything like that, talking about build business credit, no PG. So that means no personal guarantee, right? So um, with business, you can create an entity, and that will be separate from your person, right? So uh, Noble Enterprises is separate from Kerry Noble Jr. as a person.
Mm-hmm.
So Noble Enterprises can own XYZ, but Kerry has nothing. Kerry owns nothing. But the entity could own billions of dollars of real estate, right?
So you're not
So
taxed with that's not your personal income. It's not your personal capital gains.
I'm not on, well, let me say this. I'm not on the hook if anything goes awry, the entity is, because I didn't personally guarantee anything. You got to always understand what personally guarantee is, right? So just like those SBA loans and everything like that, right? You had to personally guarantee that. Although it may be your business company or anything like that, it was still a personal guarantee. So let's say it's Noble Enterprises was on the thing, but Kerry Noble Jr. personally guaranteed that if this all goes out the window, Kerry will be responsible post second to the entity.
Which means your credit is hit even if the business goes bankrupt or something.
Correct. So I have to pay that back. So let's say it was 250,000. Well, then, and it goes bankrupt. Well, Kerry's credit personal credit will be personally impacted by this. Okay. So that's what that personal guarantee is. So whenever you get to sign in certain things, pay attention to what you have to personally guarantee. So I was working on my business credit at that time. And there are some things that you can do that is no PG. But if you go to these gurus on TikTok and social media and everything like that, you can get up to a certain amount, but about 50, 40, 50,000, you have to personally guarantee that stuff. That's what they don't tell you, that you do have to personally guarantee at a certain amount. So don't let these credit people on social media get to you. There are some things that you can do without personal guarantee, but then like the Suma, the office supplies, stuff like that. You can't do it like that. But when you're getting to the lines of credit of 100,000 and 50,000, and you're getting to the cards, stuff like that, you're going to personally guarantee that. So, but I was studying how to fix my business credit, and my personal credit just skyrocketed. So from there, oh man, this is getting crazy. Let me figure this out. Let me figure this out. So at the beginning of 21, um, I got one of the Discover It cards. I took 200, put it on the Discover It credit card, and that was my secure card. It was another secure card. Took that and just ran with it. So charged it, used it, blah blah blah. Um, I had a Macy's credit card, a store credit card, which you can only use in the store. Macy's has a American Express version that you can use in the store and outside of the store. Okay, so my Macy's card, which had $100, it upgraded to a Macy's American Express version. Here's another tip: Discover and American Express are processors, and they're banks too. Okay, so um, although it has an American Express on the logo of the card, it wasn't an American Express card. American Express was just the processor of the card. Okay, so Credit One has a American Express version, but it's not an American Express version. If you go to American Express and the card is not on their website, it's not an American Express card. Okay, it's just a processor.
What is the benefit of using American Express? I know my wife uses it. I don't really understand why people prefer to use that.
So a lot of it really, man, it's just a status thing. Like, hey, I got an American Express. But I will tell you this: their travel stuff is amazing. Their travel benefits are amazing, hands down. They're like I was telling you with the protection, they offer great protection. A lot of people, that's why a lot of people don't want to accept that. There's two reasons why a lot of places don't want to accept American Express. That is their fees. Their fees are higher than Visa and MasterCard, and Discover, and the protection. They know that American Express will get their money back if should there be a dispute. So those are the two main things why in my eyes, why people have American Express, because of the protection and um, and just the prestige of having American Express. So
So
they're been
people want it, but businesses don't like it because it'll cost them more on the transaction fee. And if you are shady, you could say, hey, I didn't buy gas from this place, and they're going to get that money back.
Absolutely. That's why a lot of places do not like to accept American Express. Their fees are definitely higher than Visa, MasterCard, and Discover, and they don't play about their money. So yes, that's why a lot of places don't like to accept that.
Okay.
So yeah, so they Macy's upgraded my American Express, so I can use my Macy's card outside of the store. It went from a store card to a real, credit card, so I can use it at the gas station, everything like that. Uh, it's actually a it's actually a city card. So city underwrites it. That's who I deal with, but it has an American Express logo on it. So that was the second card, right? So I'm like, man, okay, I'm getting some traction and everything. Um, That was in February. Uh, by April, I went on an app spree. So what they call it is an app spree is where you place so many applications for new credit in a certain period of time. Another tip: most banks pull different credit bureaus, so they'll pull the TransUnion, Equifax, Experian, right? They'll pull those um, differently. Um, there's only one that pulls all three credit bureaus when issuing a credit card, and that's Capital One. Capital One will pull all three, right? So you have to be strategic in which credit card. So basically, you could end up with six credit cards in one day. Okay, because well, you can end up with more, but two per bureau, right? So after two hard pulls is when you'll get dinged more, but they'll give you the first two without being dinged. Okay, because hard pulls is a part of your credit profile, part of your credit score. So age, history, utilization, hard pulls, those make up like 90% of your credit profile right there, right? So the more hard pulls you get, the more your credit will suffer. They give you up to two, right? And then after 3 and 4, it starts to drop. Your score will start to drop with 3 and 4 hard pull. And then more, like if you're going to a dealership and they run your credit 10 times, that's gonna hurt. It's not gonna hurt like age, utilization, and missed payments. It's not gonna hurt like that because those three are like 33, 32, 30, whatever. Those are probably like total like 80% right there, right? But hard pulls, 10 hard pulls in one day, that'll definitely hurt your credit profile. And uh, they stay on for 2 years. Okay. So I got strategic with it, and I got one from TransUnion. I'm sorry, I got two from TransUnion, two from Equifax, two from Experian. So I ended up with six credit cards in the next few months, like in a 3 month period. I ended up with six credit cards, all within that time period, being strategic, using uh, which bureau, which credit card each bureau pulled, and just being strategic with it. So I
Why
didn't
did you,
never.
why did you want more?
So I got a hold of the authorized users. Right? Are you familiar with the authorized users? The
No.
trade line game. So the trade line game is one of the ways that you can make money. Okay. So you can sell the authorized user spots on your credit cards, and people will pay you for that.
Oh, I've heard of this.
Yeah. So piggybacking, trade lines, authorized users, it's all the same thing. So if I have a card that it has a limit of 20,000, um, and it's 10 years old, 10 years old, and that could be worth about $800 for one trade line to add one person. Okay. So people will pay you $800 to be on there for two billing cycles. Okay. So if I do that in general, you get about 2 to 3 spots, depending on each credit card, because each credit card is different.
Isn't this a
Okay.
little
So
bit scary? What if they don't pay it?
they never get the card. The card is mailed to me.
So
They
could
never
you
see the
explain this
card.
a little bit further?
Yeah, yeah, yep. So I add you. You pay me 800. I add you. The card comes to my address. Right. I cut the card up, throw it away. I lock it on the app. You never get the card. You never see the card. The spending is based on my spending, but you get the history because the card is 10 years old. You get the history. You get the good payments because I made 100% payments, and you get the utilization because that is what a big bulk of your credit profile is: utilization, history, and age,
So this is just to get their credit up.
to get their credit up. It's a
Okay, let me
boost to your
let me
credit.
see if I understand this. Okay, you already
Okay.
have a credit card. You sell the rights to be added as an authorized user to somebody else. They're added onto your credit card, which means you are sent a new credit card with that person's name on it.
Correct.
You cut that up. That card isn't being used for anything. They're not able to use the card. They're not able to spend the money, but since you are a responsible credit user, their credit goes up in
Yep.
association.
That history goes to your credit profile.
Okay.
Yeah, it goes to your credit profile. Now, the ideal thing to do is um
You do have to
connect.
exchange personal information here, though, correct?
Absolutely, absolutely. You do you so there are companies that do this. So um you get with the trade line companies, they broker the deals. So you put your credit cards, you tell them what cards you have, they list it on their website. They market, they do the marketing and sales, they generate the leads come in, then they'll split it with. So let's say 800, a good company will give you half. So you'll get 400, right? You'll get $400 and you'll add the person. And that takes away from you not having to do the marketing, the sales, and generating other leads, right? All you're doing literally is I timed it one time. It's 1 minute. 1 minute entering their name, information, social security number, right? So you do have to be a trustworthy person. Enter all that
Well,
information
they
in
have to
there.
trust you.
They have to trust me. Correct. They have to trust me. So you enter all that information in there. Boom, it's generated, and then generally they'll send you the money. The broker will send you the money. By the time that your statement date, the time that it reports to the bureau, it should be on their credit profile right after that. They'll see the history. They'll see a little bump in their score. Now, the trade line game used to be amazing. Like you could see 100-point bumps, 50 bumps, 50-point bumps, increases in scores, everything like that. They've kind of changed the scoring model a little bit, but now it's more of a okay, I got like a bigger bump. Let me go apply for new credit. So the person that I added, now the scores jump. They're more they look better now for the opportunity to go apply for more credit from somewhere else.
Okay.
So in that 2 billing cycles, you need to go apply for more credit. Some people use it to buy a house, but the scoring models, FICO 10, FICO 10T, they're pretty much against the authorized users and everything now. So they see through that, like that bail. So but the credit card companies, it still works for the credit card companies. So you can go get you two more credit cards or something like that during that 2 month period, and that'll help your own score.
Okay.
They then send you an email to tell you to remove that person after those 2 billing cycles.
Because they see what they're doing.
Well, it's only a time period. It's never in perpetuity. It's only for the 2 billing cycles. So the broker will send you an email. It's time for you to remove that person.
Okay.
Then you do it all over again. Rinse and repeat.
Can you add more than one person?
Yeah. I think you can add Discover. You can only add one person at a time, like within a certain period of time. But yes, I have 3 people on one right now. Generally, you want to keep it under three and under. So that 800 or 400 times three, that's $1,200
Not bad.
times one card.
Yeah.
So 1,200 times one, multiply that 10x. Now you got 12,000.
So as long as you're keeping your cards paid, you're good.
Correct. As long as you keep your cards paid and under 10% utilization.
Okay.
So yes, and that's what reports. But yes, so that was my goal, is to create a lane of it's not passive income, but it's not. You don't have to do much for it.
It's a little bit of
So
work. Yeah.
yeah, it's a little bit of work. It's a little bit of work, but you don't have to do much for it. So that was my incentive to get more credit cards, because there was a trade line company I was working with, and a lady, I was enjoying it. A lot of people don't know that you can do this, blah blah blah. But I was getting paid during that period of time. I'm like, wow, I knew nothing about this. Knew nothing about this. So from there, I just started. Let me get some more cards. Now here's the thing about it. Those cards are now 3 years old. So a lot of the trade line companies want your cards to be at least 2 years old, and they need to be at least above 10 grand. Okay. So not all of my cards started at 10 grand, and now they're just now getting the 3 years old. So, in that time period, you have to work the cards. You got to work your cards. Keep them active. If you don't use your card, you got to use these cards at least once every 6 months, at least every 6 months. One of the tricks that I do, I provide my cards to my parents to pay the bills, and we'll just alternate cards. Stuff that they normally would do, we'll just alternate cards. Here we go. So this month we're going to use Discover. This month we're going to use BMO Harris. This month we're going to use American Express. This month we're going to use Navy Federal. You know, and that just keeps the cards active. That keeps the cards active so that they see that I'm using it. And then when I go to do a credit limit increase, um, they're willing to give it to me, also based on my credit profile and my score. So they see I'm using it and they see I have good credit, good standing with them. Let me bump up his credit limit. Also, another tip, um, you should put your credit limit increases in your calendar. So I have my credit limit increases in my calendar on my cell phone for every 6 months. Okay. So every 6 months, that's I know I'll get a reminder. Boom, it's time to ask for a credit limit increase from Citibank. Time to ask for a credit limit increase from Discover, blah blah blah. Now, some banks charge a hard pull, some are soft pull. Majority of them are soft pulls. Chase is a soft pull. Um,
What does that mean? What does a pool mean?
a soft pull is not a hard inquiry, so they can go and look at your credit profile and give you a credit limit increase based on a soft pull. Means it's not you're not inquiring, you're not getting a hard inquiry like you would get a hard inquiry for going and get your credit ran for a new car or a new credit card, something like that. So they're going to do all those hard pulls and hard inquiries, but they do a soft inquiry. So that basically they look without you really noticing. You don't get a notification. So my credit limit increases are on my cell phone for every 6 months in the calendar part for every 6 months. And that's how I know when it's time to ask for a credit limit increase. So I put those there. Then I'll wake up. I know that so February, like I said, they're staggered like that. So August will be my next. Actually, I take that back. July will be time for some credit limit increases on my city, and then August, boom, boom, boom. I have them pretty much mapped out like that.
Mhm.
Another tip: people ask me, so I'm up to 19, 19 cards, 18 or 19, including a business card, business card. People ask me, how do you keep up with so many cards? Well, um, people don't know that you can change your due date. All of my cards' due dates are uh, the middle of the month. So let me take that back. All of my credit cards' due dates are in the middle of the month. Okay. So, excuse me, 14th, 15th, 16th of the month are my credit card due dates. Um, the reason why it ain't the 15th for all of them is because certain banks won't let you go to the 15th. So that's why there's a 14th and there's a 16th, but majority of them are the due date is on the 15th of the month. Okay. That's my credit cards. Charge cards. Are you familiar with the difference between a charge card and a credit card?
Not really.
Okay. So my charge cards are due at the end of the month on the 28th. The difference between a credit card and a charge card is a credit card you can carry a balance. Charge card you cannot. So American Express used to be a charge card only company. So whatever you charged, you had to get when you got the bill at the next statement, you had to pay it in full.
Okay.
You couldn't carry anything over. So for instance, with your credit card, if you charge 10,000, you wanted to carry $1,000 balance, you could with a credit card. You can't do that with a charge card. However, American Express has started offering a pay over time feature on their charge cards. So they offer that now, so you can carry a little balance. But and then they also have credit cards now at American Express. But that's another main difference. So I have two charge cards that are due at the end of the month on the 28th. So and here's how I can manufacture my utilization. So after I pay my credit cards for the month, I then switch to my charge cards until my till after my statement date has been generated, until the new statement has generated, right? So um,
Because you don't want to put more on your cards before the statement date. Okay.
there you go. Yep, because that's how I manufacture my utilization being so low, right? So another tip: do not use um, auto pay as the first line of defense. Okay, use auto pay as your last line of defense. Okay, the reason why I say that, you hear all these horror stories about people and auto pay, about auto pay failing and stuff like that, and then you miss the payment, and then the credit card company doesn't want to give you any grace.
But
So
what
here's a
could
tip:
cause auto pay to fail?
you could, different things, it could be in their system and they don't want to give you the grace. That's what I've seen stuff on their end and they didn't want to give you the grace. So I'm a person with a high internal locus of control, so I like to be in control of stuff like that. So a tip that I do, um what I do is, so again, my cards are due in the middle of the month. I put a calendar reminder 3 days before. So 11, 12, 13, because they're due 14, 15, 16. So I put a calendar reminder three days before my credit cards are due, and then I personally go pay them.
Just
Okay.
not leaving anything to chance.
There you go. I want, if I fuck anything up, I'm sorry, could I cuss?
You can.
Okay. If I fuck anything up, it's on me, not them. Because it's hard to get things, they don't want to give you a lot of grace sometimes. So if I fuck anything up, it's on me. I can't blame anybody but me. Right. So I put it out 3 days before the due date because let's say I miss it on the 11th. Well, I still have the 12th. I still have the 13th. You know what I mean? To get it done before the 14th, and still on the 14th, just in case I miss it. Now, auto pay will be my last line of defense in case I miss it. Then auto pay kicks in, right? So that's another tip. You be in control of it and leave auto pay, or you could move your auto pay 3 days before. Certain banks don't want to do that though. I like my Capital One doesn't allow me to go 3 days before, but is what it is because I've already paid it
They want you
by
to
that.
miss it. They want to hit you with those
Exactly.
fees.
Exactly. Exactly. So that's another thing. Change your due dates. A lot of people don't know you can change your due dates. When you have so many cards, change your due dates to the same day. You can change any bill's due date. Like you can call your cell phone company. Hey, I'd like to move my due date. I've changed my cell phone. You can call your utilities. I need to move my due date. People don't think you can move your due dates for some reason. Change your due dates to what's feasible for you. That's all you got to do. So immediately, when I get new cards, I change the due date to the 15th. I call them up. Hey, I like to change my due date to the 15th. Some of them don't allow it for some reason. I don't know. It's weird. But boom. So that's the first. So I change my due dates, and then I set up the payments, or I put the calendar reminder 3 days before. Then I set up auto pay 3 days before, just in case I forget. So that's how I'm able to keep up with so many cards. And I use my calendar. Use your calendar. Use your calendar, or whatever way you stay organized. Use that to your benefit. Okay. So the authorized users, that's why I started going after authorized users. I mean, more cards to create that opportunity to create a side hustle with
Mhm.
with having good credit. So I'll take that, and then I'll just keep going and adding authorized users. You'll get with trade line companies, priority trade lines, GFS Group. They have the ability. Those are brokers. Um, there's another one that I use. I started with GFS and then Priority Trade Lines, so I rock with now. They're pretty dope. I'll wake up some days, like this past week, I woke up. So talking about making money in your sleep, I woke up last Sunday or last Monday morning. There's 150 for a trade line, right?
Offers?
$150,
Okay. Okay.
$150. Yep. Or a month ago, I woke up with 450, right? Now, the thing is, a lot of them started 1099 in you for this, and that's fine. But previously, I never got a 1099 for that. when I first started. But now they're working on 1099, so you do get a 1099 for
Which
it.
is a
But
tax form, by the way, for all the non-Americans, including me.
yeah, which is a tax form, correct, right? But that's passive income, waking up to making money in your sleep,
Hmm.
right? So another thing that I learned is gardening versus applying. So I had to do it in stages. So gardening, basically, you're making on time payments, you're watering your garden, you're gardening, you're making on time payments, and you're doing credit limit increases, and then every 6 months you're applying. Okay, so you're gardening, then you're applying, gardening, then applying. If you do it like that, you can then structure how your credit looks, your credit profile looks, and it's only going to look better for the companies. So every 6 months, what you'll run into is banks have their own rules for approval. So I'm 800 plus credit right now, and on my birthday was May 22nd. I applied for 3 new cards and I got denied for one. The card that I got denied for was a Chase card. Now, these banks have their own internal rules. Chase has a rule that is a 524. You can't have, so they'll do a soft pull. Or I'm sorry, they'll do a hard pull for new credit, but you can't have more than five, including five. You can't have more than 5 new cards within the last 24 months. Okay. So when they pull their inquiry on your credit profile, they'll look at the age. Okay. I had exactly five. So it's five and over. So you need to be under five to receive a new Chase card. All right. So you can't have 5 new cards within the last 24 months. What did I just tell you? I garden every 6 months.
Hmm.
So I'll at this point I'll probably never I have one Chase card, but at this point I'll probably never have any new Chase cards because every 6 months I'm applying.
Hmm.
So you do get denied having good credit because these banks have their own rules. I think Bank of America has a 3 and 90. No, there's a 3 and 18 months or 3 and 12, something like that. But they have their own rules for applying because although you do have a good score, they may think you're desperate for credit, or you may get all these cards and then uh, run off with the money, or charge them up and then run off with the money.
Yeah. Max them all out, move to Jamaica or something.
Exactly. So you got to learn how to play the game, and you still do get denied in situations like that because they have their own internal rules. The 524 rule. 524 is the probably the one of the most infamous rules that is out there in banking, and that's just personal. They'll look at other people's like that's okay. I had a Bank of America. I had a Pentagon Federal Credit Union. I had a Navy Federal with all in that time. That has nothing to do with Chase, but they're paying attention to what the other banks are offering you as far as the amount of credit and who offered it to you within the last 24 months.
Okay.
So that's something else to keep in mind. Banks have their own rules with that. Another thing to the credit is we're going to talk about building. So what credit is broken down into two things: revolving credit and installment credit. Revolving credit are your credit cards. Installment credit are your loans, like your car note, your mortgage, student loans. As you pay it, it disappears, right? But revolving credit is as you pay it, it goes back to the original um, credit limit.
Hmm.
So you had 10,000, you charge 9,000. As you pay it, it goes back to the 10 grand. So as it decreases, it goes back to that. Well, the installment credit, it disappears from your credit. It'll disappear. I didn't have much installment credit, but I had a lot of revolving credit. So another trick that you can do is called secured loans. Just like a secured credit card, there are secured loans, and that'll fall on the revolving side. I mean, on the installment side. So mainly your credit unions. Your credit unions offer installment loans. Okay, so um, I have Navy Federal. They offer installment loans. It's called a pledge loan specifically in their end. But what that is anytime I had like a amount of a large amount of my savings account. So this is money that's just sitting in your savings account doing nothing other than earning a small amount of interest. Okay. Well, use that to manufacture your credit. So what you do is with the credit union, you'll call say, hey, I'd like to do a pledge loan or a secured loan. This money's just sitting in my savings account. Well, what they do is they take the money out of your savings account because that's what you're pledging it to. You're pledging it to the secured loan, and they will give you a loan against that. So let's say it's 10 grand. They'll take that 10 grand and they'll use that as collateral. They'll put it in a CD. And what happens is they'll take it out and then you'll originate a loan. And it says 10 grand, right? So now I own 10 grand, right? I owe them 10 grand. So after one day, they put it back in your savings account. Okay.
Okay.
But you have a loan that shows up in your profile with them, and then it will show up on your credit. Okay.
So it shows that
So
you took, but then also paid a $10,000 loan.
not yet. You haven't paid it. It just shows that you've taken it. Now, the trick is you need to pay 90% of it immediately or right after it reports that you have a $10,000 loan. You take it and pay 90%.
Why
And
90?
so it could be less, but 90 puts the next due date way out. Okay. So I originated this in 2022. My next payment, once I paid the 90%, isn't due till 2027.
Wow.
Okay. So I took the money and paid 90% of it. So I paid 9 grand to that loan. Then, they took it out of my savings. A day later, what did they do? They put it back in my savings. Right. Now, my next due date is until 2027. This was in 22, almost 2 years ago. But guess what happened? Every month, a good payment reports to the credit bureau. So I'll have 4.5 years of good payment. I don't have to do anything.
And this is money you already had. It's just automatically generating good payment status.
It's already, that's all it's doing. It
Okay.
was sitting in my savings account. Now I put it to work by creating a secured loan, just like a secured credit card, a secured loan. They took it, they put the money back. Then I made the payment. They take it, put the money back, but then it's showing as good payment history for the next, now it's what, 3 years? The next
You
3 years.
you have to go to a credit union for this?
Generally speaking, most credit unions have them. If you already have a relationship with a credit union, use it. If you already try to use, because banking is essentially relationship based, right? So now there are other offshoots of those lender, like self lender or something like self, I believe is what it's called. I don't use it because I use the relationships that I already had. But self is one that does it too. It's a self lender thing. Same exact thing. It creates that secured loan. So, but yes, the credit unions, especially if you already have a relationship with them, the more products you have with these banks and institutions, the more they'll do for you. Meaning, um, so I think I'm up to, I think I'm up to, hold on, I'll count for you. I'm up to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 13, 14 banking institutions. Okay. Some of them I have checking, some of them I have credit, some of them I have both. Some of them I have checking savings. One of them I have a business account. But if you have the more products you have with these places, the better the relationship is. So Navy Federal, I have checking, savings, two savings, my children's savings, um, a credit card, a pledge loan, and I think that's it. So that's seven different accounts that I have with them. And you're building that relationship because in the end, banks need your money, right?
Mm-hmm.
Fractional reserve lending, fractional reserve banking, they need your money. They need your deposit. They need your deposit.
So they
That's
can
how
lend
they
it
make
out to
money.
other people.
That's how they make their money. So in the end, the more money you have in these institutions, the better relationship you have, the more opportunities that they should give you, the more breaks. Like even if you're going in to negotiate a mortgage or something like that. Like that's another thing. A lot of people go outside their lending institutions, their primary banks, to find mortgages and car loans. And I'm not doing none of that. I have XYZ amount of money here. You should be in a position that they lend to you. They want to lend to you. And then you can negotiate a quarter of a percent off of the interest rate, a half a percent off of the interest rate. I tell anybody, you don't know until you ask, right? But if you have checking, savings, uh, mortgage, auto loan, savings, kids savings, credit cards, they should be your first lender for your anything. They should be giving you the first uh, loans or lines of credit, anything, because you have all this money with them.
Hmm.
A lot of people don't understand. I'm not looking outside for a mortgage broker. I'm going to my banks. I have XYZ dollars in here. I have my direct deposit here. Like, use that to your advantage. So, and then again you may be able to negotiate a quarter of a percent off your interest rate, quarter percent off of your interest rate for your mortgage or your auto loan, something like that. So, but yes, you can do those secure loans. So that secure loan, it now shows up on my credit as I have a loan that's way out. I got all this good history, but I've only made one payment. So it's not due till 2027 now. And I think my balance is now like $500. And it just reports. It will always report as good payment history, and I don't have to touch it. So anytime I have a nice piece of savings, and I think the minimum you can do is 250. The minimum you can do is 250. I've done up to 10 and just in the savings, and then I just let that every time I get a nice piece of savings, I'll use that as an opportunity to uh, generate some installment credit.
Okay.
So that's another good tip. Secured loans, and then use those relationships you already have with your banks. So that's another thing.
And if you're building your credit, make sure it graduates. Make sure your card graduates.
Make sure your card graduates. Please make sure your card graduates. Use those institutions, the relationships you have with your institutions. Move your due dates. You can move your due dates. Definitely move your due dates. Um, calendar reminders are key. Put your calendar reminder for your credit limit increase. Put your reminder for your due dates, everything like that. Keep that on there. So those are some of the keys. The last thing I want to talk about for sure is how to make money with your credit um, outside of the authorized users. Okay, so another way you can make the money is I'll show you these. So every every couple of months, I'll get these checks. I don't know if you can see that.
It's blurry.
It's blurry. Sorry about that, but I'll get these checks every couple of months, right? These checks are they're called courtesy checks, balance transfer courtesy checks. These are checks for against my credit cards, one of my credit cards. Okay. It offers a 0% APR for some time period. This one says promotional 0% promotional APR on balance transfers until 3/1/2025.
A
Okay.
lot of words there. A lot of people aren't going to understand. What's APR?
Okay. Yep. That's your that's your interest rate. So 0% annual percentage. I forgot what the R is, but that's your interest rate. So 0% APR on balance transfer. Balance transfer is when you take your balance from another credit card and you take it and you move it to another credit card. Okay. So you can move it at 0% interest, but let's say it's $1,000. You want to take 1,000 from American Express and move it to Citi. What they're not going to charge you interest on it, but they're going to charge you a fee. Generally, it's like a 5% fee. So on $1,000, they will charge you $50 just to move it over here. So, but then it'll be at 0%. Because with anything, you're probably getting charged 20% interest just for having this $1,000 over here. That's making your hole deeper. But if you move it over here, then that's 0% for 11 months. I think I got this in May. 10 months. That's going to help you because you're not getting charged interest. You can then pay it down faster, right? So you can knock that 0% down. I mean, you can knock that $1,000 balance down faster because it's at 0% interest for the next 10 months.
How do you get a check for that?
It's ironic. You can call and ask, but this is for City. They send me these. It comes in the mail. City and only one other institution, PNC. That's the only two that have sent them to me. So I've never gotten them from any other institution. They send them to me every month.
I don't understand why they're sending it.
Because they want you to do the balance transfers. They just send them to me every month. Now I believe you can call and ask any bank. I don't know because I've never done it with any other bank other than City and PNC because they send them to me. So I don't know if I have another opportunity to do it with other institutions because I've never asked. I believe
So,
you can ask.
so that check doesn't come from your money. That's their money. They're just giving you money.
Well, it's tied to your line of credit. So the check is tied to, so it's a City account. Let's say the City account is $10,000. I can write a check to myself against this line of credit, this credit card of $10,000, and I can go put it in my own bank account. I can write a check. It has my name on it. I can write a check to myself, and from City, a $10,000 line, I could, let's say I want to write a $5,000 check. I can go take it, put it in my personal bank, and it'll cash.
So it is your money. Well, it's
It's
your credit.
it's my credit. It's against one of my credit cards.
Okay.
Yep. So I've
And they
only
do
gotten this
that
from
because they want you to transfer more credit to them.
correct,
Okay.
correct.
Bit weird. All
Yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah. Again, I've only gotten it from two places, and City sends it on the regular. PNC, I haven't got one in a while. But they do send that on the regular. And I've used it a couple times. I use it like, so think about this. Let's say you have an opportunity to go buy. I was listening to your last episode, the guys with the baseball cards, or basketball cards, or a garage sale, something like that. Let's say you know that you go to you got a garage sale and there's a stack of baseball cards for $1,000. Well, knowing I have this, I'm gonna write a check to myself and cash it. It's pretty quick, so I can do it the day before, put it there, and boom, I can go take that cash because again, that garage sale isn't going to take a credit card, right?
Yeah.
So I can have that cash ready for withdrawal the next day. Boom, I can go back and get that stuff. I would negotiate with the person and tell them, hey, I'll put $100 down if you can hold this for me till tomorrow, something like that. But yeah, it's a great way to liquidate your lines of credit. So you can take that and then you can lend out money, right? You can lend out the money to make you more money. You can do small micro loans, peer-to-peer lending. Okay.
How does that get set
Because
up?
you can do it any way you want. What it would be for me is let's say Ryan, you call me and say, man, I need $500 to till next month, something like that. So I would then write you a check. Of course, I would have the paperwork. You would have a promissory note, right? I could have a promissory note, have you sign it, um, whatever it is, blah, 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 the details on the promissory note, you sign it. Then I'll write you a check with this. Um, and I would have to factor in the fact that there's a fee for the balance transfer, but it's going to be a 0% interest. Okay.
Okay.
It's at 0% interest, but I could charge you 25%. Okay.
Hopefully you won't. I
So
thought we were friends.
correct, 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 correct. I agree. But let's say I'm in the business of making money, right? And as a friend, you come to me rather than going to a payday loan, or your credit's bad and you can't go anywhere else, and you're between a rock and a hard place. So with it, I'll charge you the 25% interest um, on the 500, which is at what's this like 12 $125. Yeah.
I think so,
So
yeah.
yeah. So 625 is what you'll pay back in a month. You're just in a bad place this month. So what I'll do is I'll write you the check. We got the promissory note. Um, write you the check in a month. You come back and pay me um, what you owe, right? The 625. I then take that and pay off the $500 because that's all I borrowed was 500. I made $125.
What if he doesn't pay?
What if he doesn't pay? Now that's where you get into you got your promissory note and everything like that. That's where you get into the point where you may have to go send somebody to break their knees or something like that. um, it's scary with that. Certain things, you know who not to lend to, hopefully, and then you don't lend out much if you've never done that type of relationship with that person. It's all based on trust. What is credit? Credit is just a promise to pay. I'm putting my name on the line that I promise to pay anything that I borrow. Same would go for that. But yes, that is a part of the peer to peer lending. Is if they don't pay, you could take them to small claims court, but something over $500, you'll pay more in court fees
Yeah.
uh, than anything. But it's another way to make money. Absolutely, if you get with trustworthy people.
So I did want to move into real estate because that is also your business. And like I said, I follow a lot of the financial rules. I pay myself first always, and that
Yep,
money's for investment. It's not for anything else. If you're going to make an investment, you consult with wise people. You don't just listen to your buddy who says, "Hey man, I just bought this stock. You should buy this stock too." You do your research about what you're investing in so you don't make foolish decisions. This is all from The Richest Man in Babylon, right? These are the five
absolutely.
laws of gold. I'm a big fan, but also from other books, more modern stuff like Rich Dad Poor Dad was the first time I
Yep,
ever heard somebody using credit to buy a cheap house in default and then basically flip that house before the credit was even due. So you made money off of credit money. It wasn't even your money. You didn't have the money to buy the house in the first place. This is uncharted territory for me. Do you know anything about this?
absolutely. So, um, two is one thing I always say to people. There are two types of people in this world. There are people that are that are from the school of Robert Kiyosaki, and then there are people that are from the Dave Ramsey school, right? So Robert Kiyosaki speaks on credit, using credit and everything like that to make more money, leverage. Then there are people like Dave Ramsey that talks about being debt free. So I always tell people that I'm from the school of Robert Kiyosaki. I have a ton of Rich Dad Poor Dad books down there that I give away. I go to the Goodwill. Um, that's where I get most of my books from. I go to the Goodwill, and whenever I see one of those books, I'll buy it. Then I give them out to graduates. Right. So that book is the reason why I got my credit together because I wanted to be in a position to use credit to make money.
Hmm.
Right. Um, and generally speaking, real estate, the reason why people love real estate, and why real estate is so unique is that you can borrow somebody else's money to make yourself um, wealthy, right? You literally borrow money to buy asset to make yourself wealthy, right? So with that, so what you're saying, um, I'll give you a good example. It's always you always want to go for the distressed properties. Okay, so pre-foreclosure, you go with properties that people need to sell and not want to sell. Okay, you need to sell based on pre-foreclosure. You need to sell based on back taxes. You need to sell based on probate. You need to sell based on those type of things. People that want to sell, you're not going to get that much of a good deal. So need versus want, that's where it is. So let's say I have a line of credit for at my local bank for 100 grand. Here in Central Indiana, you still can buy properties under 100 grand. Let's say I have an opportunity for to buy a property. I have a line of credit, and the person is it's a pre-foreclosure. They are they are let's say I'm trying to find some numbers in my head. Let's say they owe 35,000. 35,000. The house is worth 200. They just lost their job, blah blah blah. So they owe 35,000. Now, generally with foreclosures, they're behind 35 or they owe 35,000. But what happens with it is you end up with interest, fees, that type of thing. So that may be an extra 15,000. So you're at 50 grand. The house is worth 200. Well, I go to my bank, get my line of credit, and then I purchase the house. I connect with them through the bank, through their lender, so whoever their bank is, and then we write up the purchase agreement, everything like that. You connect with their bank because it's two parts to a pre-foreclosure. It's a notice of sale and a notice of default. The notice of default comes first. The notice of default tells you that you have defaulted. You know you've defaulted against your mortgage, right? And then there's generally a time period in there before you get the notice of sale. So the notice of default telling you you have defaulted. Notice of sale tells you when the sale date for the auction is. Okay. Now the beautiful thing about that is generally the notice of sale is always in the newspaper.
Okay.
Okay. So um, you know how you remember those commercials or infomercials that used to come on in the morning, late night, early morning that say, "Hey, do real estate with little to no money" and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's real. If you do this right, you can do this literally with no money because all the tools you need are public information.
So they
Okay.
had to sell. They defaulted. You picked it
Yeah.
up. What if you can't flip it?
So that's why you get it at a cheap enough amount. You get it cheap enough that if you can't flip it, it becomes a rental. There's a formula. There's a formula. Okay. You need to be all in at 70% of the estimated value after the after repair value, ARV. 70%. Okay. 70% of the ARV. So let's say the ARV is 200. 70% you have up to 140,000. Right. The reason why it is that 70% because banks will lend to you up to 80% LTV. Okay.
Okay.
80%, but you're at 70. So 80% of that is 160. So you know you need to be in at no more than 140 with your repairs, with repairs too, if there are any, but you need to be in 140 because guess what? You can take it to the bank and refinance up to 80% loan to value. Then you can make it a rental property. So that's why you always get multiple exit strategies with your properties is if you can't flip it, then you can put somebody in there to rent it. Got what I'm saying?
Got it. Yeah.
So always find a property that has a value add and a multiple exit strategy. So the value add properties are opportunities where, let's say, it comes with an unfinished attic where you can add another bedroom and bathroom up there, right? So you could take it from a 3-2 to a 4-3.
Okay.
That it then increases the value on it. So it went from 200 to now it's worth 240. So value add one, and then you look for multiple exit strategies. What are the rents here? If I can't flip this, what is the other exit strategy? Okay, if I can't flip this, the rents in the area are 1,500, and if I do the math on it, if I have a pro forma and I do the math on it, well, the PITI is going to be at $1,000, so that I have that arbitrage of $500 a month, just making this every month of cash flow because I bought it right.
That's $500 beyond what you have to pay for the loan or the mortgage.
Yep, the PITI, principal, interest, taxes, insurance. So that's that $500 worth of cash flow that you'll then have. So always keep multiple exit strategies and always find properties that are um, value adds, value adds, and multiple exit strategies. If you do it that way and you buy it cheap enough under that 70% all in cost of the estimated after repair value, you'll be good because you have an asset that you can take to the bank Because what are banks in the business of lending? Banks are never in the business of owning. That's why REO, real estate owned departments, they're there to, whenever they foreclose, they're trying to push it right back out. They don't want to own. The longer that that bank has that house and owns that house, they're losing money. Banks are in the business of lending money, not owning property. So that's why they have their REO department on hand to just sell it right back. Let's get this going because they need to make more money. So as long as you have an asset that is under 80% loan to value, you can take this and put a mortgage on it, refinance, put the mortgage on it. Now, and if you get it right, if you're under that 70%, let's say you're 100 grand, you're only 100,000 in, and you have up to 80% loan to value, right? You can actually refinance and pull money out tax free. So you have up to 160, the 100 will pull your money back out. But let's say you wanted an extra 25. Your mortgage is then at 125, so you'll pull out the 100, pay off the 100 grand that you previously just used the line of credit. Now you have 25,000 to yourself. Now you have a rental property that somebody's paying down the mortgage on for you, and then you're getting cash flow, and you just pulled out 25K tax free because loans are tax free, right? You got that 25K, and then you have that renter in there. You got your property that somebody's paying down the mortgage on.
And you could do this multiple times with multiple properties.
You do it multiple times up to your DTI, so your debt to income ratio. So depending on how much you're making, you can do that multiple times. But then what you get into is your entity. You'll put it into your entity. So every house, you can have up to 10 mortgages by yourself, depending on your DTI, right?
What's CTI?
So debt to income ratio.
Okay.
Yeah. So you can have up to 10, but most people don't make it to 10 because what happens is your debt to income, depending on how valuable these houses are, how much money you make, they won't qualify you for that. So what you'll have to do, you'll start having to get them in your LLC, and then there's a thing called a DSCR loan, debt service coverage ratio, which is it's an asset based loan to your LLC and not on your person.
Okay.
Okay. So not on your person, but on your entity, and it's based on the value of the house and the cash flow of the house. People will lend to you. Now it's above prime. It may be a couple of points above prime. So if prime right now is 7%, they may do it at 9 or 10, 9.5 or 10, right? Because it's no money is cheaper than the bank's money, right? No money is cheaper than the bank's money. So these alternative loans to investors and stuff like that, it uses prime, which probably 7%. I don't know what it is currently. Then they'll add on their little 2%, 3%, and they'll make money off of that arbitrage right there. And then that's how they'll lend to you in your entity based on the asset. It's an asset-based loan based on the property, the cash flow, the value, all of that. So after a certain limit, you have to start putting them in your LLC and everything like that. But yes, that's an opportunity, and that's stuff that you learn from leveraging your credit, and that's how you're able to build your wealth that way.
All right. I think I'd like to tell the story of how I got my house so cheap. Some people ask and they wonder, how is that even possible? How do you even have a house under 50,000 Canadian dollars, which is about 35,000 American dollars right now?
Okay,
First of all, what you said is they needed to sell it. They didn't want to sell it. Or sorry. Yeah, no, that's it. They needed to sell it because the lady died in the house. So
that's a probate.
her kids had ownership of the house. Their kids don't want the house. Their kids don't need the house. And there's also very little incentive for them to haggle on the price because when you're splitting it, I think it was 3 ways. I'm not sure if there was 3 or 4 kids or something like that. But even if it was two, say we're haggling over 10 grand on the price, what does it matter to them? It's 2 grand each for them. It's 3 grand each for them, right? So it was very easy. There was very little haggling. Actually, we got them down significantly. It was listed for, I think, 60, 66, 69,000 Canadian. This is before the pandemic too. And we got them all the way down to 48 on little things. Also, nobody in the town wanted the house because our house is it's kind of leaning. It's been leaning since the 70s. Just, I don't know. Nobody wanted this particular house. We're fine with it. It's been good. We've been there 5 years, over 5 years. It's fine. It's a house. It's better than not having a house. I didn't have a house, didn't have anywhere to live. I don't have credit, but I do have a very nice mother. She used her line of credit, which she
Yep.
had been building up for years. She was bankrupt years ago. She finally got a house herself last year as well, although it cost way more than ours. But she used a line of credit. And since she had already been through bankruptcy, she's nuts with debt. She doesn't want debt. She doesn't want to pay interest. And me either. I'm very proud. I've never paid a dollar in interest. I don't think I've ever paid a dollar in interest, which is great to me. But so she actually just paid that immediately. She paid the whole line of credit immediately. So we had no interest on it, even though we were willing to pay the interest if that's what it came down to. We
So,
just
yep.
agreed to pay it off over time. A friend and I, we all shook hands on this deal. And it had to be a line of credit because they won't even give you a mortgage for that amount of money.
Right.
It's too little money. That's what a parking spot costs in Toronto, right? They laugh at you if you
Man.
ask for a mortgage. So yeah, we got it all in under 50 grand, zero interest. And it was because they needed to sell. They didn't want to sell it. If you just are feeling like selling, you just put it on the market. Oh, I'll see what I can get for it. If it's not price, if the offers are not to your liking, you don't have to sell it, right? But yeah, there are
Right.
people who need to sell it. This person died. We need to get rid of this house. We're paying taxes. We're paying electricity on a house that isn't even, no one's living in it. You got to get rid of that. So it was a great deal. It wasn't really a credit hack other than doing it well within our means, right? I think this is a point too that I would like to touch on. Well within our means, meaning even if we got jobs at convenience stores, we could have paid that off. There was no
Right.
way, there was no way that we were going to be stuck in a mountain of debt with this house that was just absolutely unaffordable. I have some people right now in my life, friends and stuff, that took mortgages in like 2021 or 2020 mortgage rate. It's a variable mortgage, so they jack the price up and people are having a real hard time paying. And I have some friends who are considering bankruptcy because of that, because the house itself was without outside of their means. The interest rate was low, but then now it's not. So it's actually become a huge situation to them where their mortgage payments are crushing them, basically. It can be very tough. So if you do it within your means, maybe move farther outside of the city. I'm 6 hours from a city. It's not right for everyone, it's not perfect for everyone, but it was perfect for us that we were able to secure somewhere to live very cheaply. Now we own it completely, and now I'm not worried. I'm not worried about ever losing that house. The insurance is cheap. Sorry, not insurance. We don't actually have insurance. The uh, the taxes are cheap on it, right? It's cheap to own, and I feel this way with cars as well. I see a lot of people, especially young people, who don't even have a great job, don't have a secure career, make less money than me, and they drive a car that's way nicer than me. I'm
Yep.
thinking, what the heck? And Americans are particularly bad for this, where
Yes.
you get stuck with this crazy car loan, 500 a month, 800 a month. And I'm like, what are you doing? This is not worth it. I drive, by the way, a 2011 Kia Rio four-door. It's a joke. The car it's not cool at all. It's the furthest thing from cool. It's not a status symbol in any way, but it's very, very cheap to own. I didn't need a loan to do it. And it's very cheap to operate, and it's within my means, is my point here. I see people that don't make as much money as me, and they're driving a car that's 10 times nicer than me, and I'm really shaking my head.
Listen, I'm right with you, but I think I got you beat. I drive a 2004 Avalanche. I'm on my second engine and transmission. It's rusty. Um, but what they don't understand is I've never had a car payment in my life. I don't desire a car payment. I'm a car guy, so one thing I always kept like Chevelles and Caprices and stuff like that, Impalas and stuff. So that was always my thing. I would always drive a what we call a bucket, but then I could have my weekend toy to pull out. But that's just something I stayed with. So even right now, so that's a 2004. My car is 20 years old, right? And
Mhm.
I didn't have it since new. I got it probably in 16 or 15, something like that. But even then, it was almost 10 years old. Um, excuse me. But that's what I believe in. I do not. So cars are the worst asset to ever buy. So what I do, I always make sure that the car is at least 10 years old. And I make sure I keep a good mechanic that if it ever goes out, I know I can get the engine and transmission replaced, everything like that. So I am now looking at a 2010, 2011 in that range for something that I can pay cash for. like maybe Denali XL. So I'm 6'3". My children are pretty tall as well right now, so I'll need something like a SUV. But I agree with you. I believe in paying cash for cars, and I don't believe in those outrageous uh, interest rates and every cars are a depreciating asset. I just believe going straight to it's just like
It's not an
you buy your.
asset. It's not
Oh,
even
I'm
an
sorry.
asset at all.
Correct. There are a liability. Absolutely. I believe in going just like with real estate. You buy underappreciating assets, and then boom. Again, I know it's not an asset, but distressed things. So I would buy a car with a blown motor or transmission. I have a mechanic that can put it in. If I get it cheap enough, if I spend 2 grand on the car and get 2 grand on the engine and transmission and 2 grand to put it in, I'm 6K in for something that is probably worth $10,000. Right. So that's what I do. I treat it just like real estate on buying uh, things that are undervalued or have an issue, and then fix it and just ride that. So yes, absolutely.
I like it too. I had a car. Okay, my first car that I ever bought was a car that I loved. It was a 1986 Lincoln Mark 7 with dropped with a skirt on it, and the
Yeah.
air ride in it and
Yep,
rims
they're
on
right.
it. It was a pretty sick car, let me say. But it was so cool to me that I was very sensitive about it. Don't lean on my car. What are you doing? Right? And it bothered me where I'm worried about it. I didn't want to be worried about it. I actually love driving a beater because I don't care. It's all chipped up. I go across country all the time. I get all these rock chips all over the paint and stuff. I don't sweat it at all. I just don't care. It's a tool that brings me from A to B. And like you said, you can have some sweet cars that you drive carefully around your neighborhood and stuff. But for actual practical use, especially for me, cross country highway the whole way, I want a beater. I don't want to care about it at all. And if it catches on fire and dies, then I'm just going to buy a new one. It's no sweat at all.
Exactly. That is the point of all this. A lot of people get caught up on their daily drivers being, having nice day. I don't care about any of that, man. And I'm big on Robert Greene and the 48 Laws and stuff like that. And one thing that is in it is one thing of one of the important messages that Robert Greene always has is deception. So with deception come, you look at me like, oh man, this guy doesn't know anything. He's poor or something because of the car he drives. You
Mhm.
got what I'm saying? But it's really a deception piece because man, you don't understand how financially sound I am. But if you judge me based on the car, okay. You know what I mean? I leave that up to them. But I do that. I'll never probably I ain't gonna say never, but I just don't have any desire to have a car note. And I will definitely drive something that is rusty as long as it gets me back and forth. It's as long as it's mechanically sound, I'm okay with it.
I also like being under the radar. I like being
Yep.
inconspicuous. I got to deal with
Yep.
customs and border and homeland all the time, and I definitely don't want to be looking like I'm up to something at all. You pull up in a Kia Rio in regular clothes. I'm wearing like a hunting t-shirt, just this guy's
Yep.
up to nothing. There's nothing. No concern with this guy.
I remember your story about your homeland and all that. Man, I'm a big follower of your podcast, so I definitely remember your story being detained during was it the pandemic when
Oh, I've been
they
detained for years. It's still, it's
okay.
still, it's still going on, by the way.
Yep. Yep, I understand, and I'm the same way, man. I like to fly under the radar. That's one thing I will always do. Um, that's just me. So we're on the same page with that. But yes, sir, same way, same way. Like I said, my car is 20 years old, rusty truck, everything like that. I'm on my second engine and transmission. I'll buy a third if I need to.
And let them underestimate you.
Absolutely, that's power. There's power in the underestimation of all of that. So the art of war and the 48 laws and everything like that. There's so much power in being underestimated.
Absolutely. Kerry, you got any other tips here for us?
Um, just keep your credit together. Make sure you're paying your payment. Credit can always be fixed. Credit can always be fixed. You can always fix your credit. And another thing, you can always fix your credit, but it takes time. So be patient and it takes time. So long as you have those two together, man, you can fix you can come back after bankruptcy. You can come back after missed payments. You can come back after student loans. I'm a product of that. You can come back after all of that, but just remember, um, it can always be fixed. It just takes time. So just get organized with it, and you'll be okay. I promise you.
I like that. I like staying within your means, but this type of stuff that you were talking about can expand your means, give you more
Absolutely,
means.
absolutely. That it has become another generation, another opportunity for me to generate income. And yeah, it's definitely a side hustle that may expand into something else. But yeah, I do want to say one more thing before we go. I'm a big fan of your podcast. Um, the number one episode, well, it's two. It was a part one and part two. Again, I've been listening for a while, but the Mason episode with the guy that was the Mason, part two with he talked about the apple cider vinegar and the baking soda. You remember that?
Yep.
I still do that to this day, man. I do that monthly. I still do that. Like I've taken so much, not only from your page in the books, because on my cell phone I keep a section for books that I'm going to read and everything like that. So not only for the books, but just your episodes, man. I'm a big fan. As you can tell, I've been watching. I've heard about your detainments and everything like that. And then the Mason episode, that was by far the most enlightened one I've ever seen. The both of them, part one and part two, really hooked me. But part one and part that was man, I'm a big fan of those. So I appreciate the opportunity for being here. Man, this was nothing short of great for me. Just to be able to be here. So I appreciate this opportunity.
Yeah, I definitely appreciate it. It taught me some things that I don't know, and I'm still working on my credit. By the way, I have credit now since I haven't done anything. I haven't had a credit card or anything. I actually have pretty good credit, and I have enough money coming in where I'm able to get a lease and stuff. Like I live in two places, as you would know, and here we
Yep.
rent. And the only reason we're able to rent, it's a pretty nice place. It's the biggest place I've ever lived. It's Texas size, you know.
Yep.
But we're able to get it because I have money coming in and I have decent credit, even without a credit card this whole time.
Right.
It,
Right.
it will actually build on its own over time if you're moving money around, and
It takes time.
that has helped. And I should also say that even though I currently live without credit, there's a lot of risk to that as well. You know, if my car breaks down on the road in the middle of Missouri, I don't have enough cash to buy another car. You know, they limit you on how much cash you can carry. I don't like
Yep.
keeping that much money in banks because if it's sitting in your savings account, it's not doing anything for you. It's not working for you. It's not being
Exactly.
invested. So it's stagnant and it's actually depreciating at this rate because of inflation. So I don't want to keep that much money on. I don't want to keep that much money liquid. So I hope my car doesn't break down on the road, basically, is what I'm saying. That if you do have a credit card, it can actually save you when a real emergency happens, something really, really does happen, you know, God forbid your house burns down. You're gonna get an insurance payment for it, but not tomorrow, right? You
Takes
need to
time.
go, you
Yeah.
need to put your family in a hotel, and there's going to be a lot of expenses that you probably don't have the cash in your pocket for. So credit really can rescue you from that. And I don't like banks, but the fact is that most of the stuff that we need to secure, well, not most, but the house and the car and stuff, a lot of it is beyond our pockets, right? A lot of it,
Yep.
we do need help to get it. I am a fan of buying a car cash, for example, but look what happened in the last couple of years where a 1997 Toyota Camry was going to cost you $13,000 or something. You know, it's down now to normal, but it got so
Yeah.
crazy for a moment that if you were in that moment where you needed a car, you probably needed some credit to get it.
Agree. Agree. I'm listen, we're pretty much on the same thing. People don't understand the velocity of money that, like you said, if your money is just sitting in this savings account, you're losing. $1,000 on January 1st is not the same amount on December 31st. You've actually lost money. You know what I mean? And people don't understand. And I'm gonna be real with you. I feel like um the every month they come out with the unemployment and they come out with the inflation rate and everything. I don't believe that's accurate. I believe it was 3% inflation or something like that. And it's probably about 10, 12%. You got what I'm saying?
Of course,
Um,
you and I, you're a few years older than me, I think, and I'm sure you remember when you could go to the grocery store with $100 and fill the
yes,
shopping cart. Now you go with
yes,
$100, you got like four bananas in your hand and a couple of cartons of eggs. Like you got nothing. You got one bag, two bags with you. It's
yeah,
crazy. Yeah.
yep.
So a thousand
So
bucks when I was a kid was a lot of money, and
a
now
lot.
it's nothing.
A lot. Agree. So I think that's they're under. I think they're. I ain't gonna say lying, but I think it's not accurate. But
I think they're
same,
they're calculating it for everything, right? Like some things haven't moved that much, right? Gasoline, yes,
right.
it's gone up, but it's not actually that dramatic. Food has gone up more than anything, and I think that's what a lot of us are feeling the most. But
Yep.
if food goes up 30%, but other things only go up 2%, then that's where you get this average where, yeah, I do think it's underestimated. There's a lot of the stuff,
Correct.
a lot of the assets, a lot of the, raw materials, minerals and wood and all that stuff. That's not stuff that we're buying every day. So the fluctuations
Exactly.
in those prices isn't that relevant to us, but our everyday expenses have certainly gone up.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. We're on the same page. Same page. I believe in buying a car for cash, everything like that. I generally just use the credit to make more money, and that's what I've done with it. And it's definitely a learning tool. And just velocity of money, just understanding the more that your money is sitting, it's not generating. Just like them, they have to lend out your money to make more money. Well, your money has to be circulating to make more money so you can beat inflation. So I totally agree with everything.
Kerry, it's been a pleasure here. You said
Likewise.
before you don't have a product to promote or anything like that. You came here just to share your knowledge. Do
Yep.
you want to promote your social media or anything?
Yeah. I'm big on LinkedIn. Like I follow you on Facebook. I follow you on LinkedIn. I'm sorry, not Facebook. I follow you on YouTube, Instagram, but LinkedIn is where I added you as well. My name, Kerry Noble Jr., KerryNoblejr. You can find me on LinkedIn. I'm always on LinkedIn every day. I'm big on networking. Bigger Pockets. Bigger Pockets is a real estate forum. I'm on Bigger Pockets, Kerry Noble Jr. You can find me at those places. I'm big on networking. My network has made me the person that I am. Like what I'll do whenever I listen to a new podcast episode, I'll just add them on LinkedIn, shoot them a message, and I would like for people to do the same for me. Add me on LinkedIn, and we'll connect from there.
Great. Thank you again for coming, Kerry. Everybody else, remember that you can find everything that I do on notusbooks.org, including all the books that I've written and helped publish and the free audiobook versions of those. There's also an archive of this podcast there where you could download them for free. You should know about that just in case we get taken down again, because it's a strong possibility that we can get taken down again. It's also hundreds of book reviews. Like you said, Kerry, I do lots of book reviews. I don't think that people should be reading I don't think that people should be wasting their time on bad books. And unfortunately, I read the good and the bad. So you don't have to waste that time if the review says don't bother. And there's a lot of good stuff that could totally change your life. A lot of it is very obscure, but I'm very grateful for a lot of that knowledge. And even the couple of books that we mentioned here today, those were very important books to me. Even if I don't take 100% of the advice, I've taken enough of it to fully change my financial life and hopefully my financial future. So check out the website, notusbooks.org. Everything's there, all the social media channels and everything. And all these links are in the description as well. I appreciate you wherever you watched, whether it was YouTube or Rumble or podcast. And Kerry, one more time, thank you very much. Very insightful for all of us. Get your credit in check and use some of these hacks. Use some of these hacks to use some of these hacks if you see them fit in your life.
I appreciate the opportunity.
Stay healthy, my friends. Until next time.